Ever wonder what makes readers fall in love with fictional friendships? Well, stick around for my top tips of how to write these unforgettable friendships so that they stick around in your readers' minds. If you want readers to care deeply about your characters, one way to do this is to craft really strong friendships. And that's because the emotional dynamics between these characters can help highlight different strengths and weaknesses of your protagonists and your side characters and really bring this overall story and relationships to life on the page. So let's dive into my top tips. Number 1 is to give the friend a life outside of the protagonist. A well-written friend shouldn't feel like they exist solely for the purpose of being there for the protagonist. They should have their own goals, struggles, and personal lives. Developing this and making sure that they are a full person in themselves is going to be helpful when you bring them into the dynamic with the protagonist, so it feels like they're more believable. So backstory matters here. Think about the events that shaped this friend into who they are, and think about how that impacts the friendship. Also, how did these people become friends? Are they friends before the readers meet them on the page, or are they becoming friends on the page and you'll need to do a little bit of work to build trust? Think about these different dynamics and the backstory of your character, and this will allow them to feel a little bit more real and feel like their own person. Along with this, think about the friends' motivations. What are their overall goals for life? What are their personal career endeavors? What are their personal goals related to the plot? What does that dynamic look like for the protagonist and the friend? And don't forget, this friend can have conflicting priorities. So they're not going to want to do everything the exact same way that the protagonist does and isn't going to be a yes man and just goes along for the ride. No, they have their own views, they have their own values and priorities, and sometimes those things can conflict. So an example of a friend that has a full life outside of the protagonist would be Ron Weasley from Harry Potter. So Ron has his own struggles, his own insecurities, his own ambitions, and of course, family drama. This makes Ron feel like a real person. So when he comes into the scenes with Harry, there's a nice friendship dynamic. But if Harry is removed from those scenes, Ron can stand on his own as an individual person that has thoughts and feelings and motivations that will come across. Number 2 is to balance their strengths and weaknesses. So a protagonist often has a lot of great, strong qualities to them, but they're not going to be the best at everything. And a great friendship usually is a foundation of that friend filling in the gaps where the protagonist has weaknesses. They're going to have some sort of dynamic where they complement one another. And their strengths and weaknesses can create a push and pull dynamic if they have different strategies around how they would approach certain things that happen in the plot. But overall, the goal is that these strengths and weaknesses work together for shared growth as a team. At the end of the story, they should be better versions of themselves because they have each other in their lives. A classic example of this is Sherlock Holmes and John Watson. They are pretty opposite. So Sherlock Holmes is pretty emotionally detached, where Watson is grounded and very compassionate. So together as a team, they become unstoppable. Number 3, why do they need each other? Friendships work best when there's a clear purpose that ties them together. Now, this could be external, like a specific mission that they're both trying to achieve, or internal, like emotional support. And of course, we need to talk about stakes. So if the friendship falls apart, what is the potential loss of that? Making sure that we highlight in our writing how this friendship is integral to the plot and very important to the protagonist, and highlighting perhaps opportunities where if the friend is not there, how the protagonist is lacking in some areas and how the weaknesses might shine through in those times. That is going to help show why exactly this friendship is so important. So for example, in Stranger Things, their goal is to defeat these supernatural monsters, this external mission. However, at the end of the day, they're kind of each other's chosen family, so they have that emotional need within each other as well. Number 4 is to experience life together. So it's not just about the action-packed big moments in your story, which of course are going to resonate with readers and really dive into the deep level of friendships. However, there's also going to be these small moments that are important to share. What are some ordinary day-to-day moments where you show why they have such a close bond with one another? You can show this through ordinary moments like playing video games, some memorable adventures adventures like going on a hike, or even in their banter and inside joking. This is laying the foundation for their friendship so that when these really climactic moments come, readers are already familiar with their dynamic and they believe that the friendship is strong and already there. For example, in Perks of Being a Wallflower, the friendship between Charlie, Sam, and Patrick grows through small, relatable moments, like driving through a tunnel while blasting music. This makes the readers feel a little bit of nostalgia for their own friendships, but it also makes this friendship really believable. Number 5 is to show affection in their own way. And I love this one because there's always some level of affection between friends, and it's totally different based on each friendship. Think about your own life. When you're thinking about your close friendships, each one is probably a little bit of a different dynamic, and you might show affection in different ways. So this could be anything from physical affection, like hugging or even holding hands. Perhaps it's more of the teasing side, so you're always just bantering with one another and making fun of each other, but of course it's all in good humor. Maybe they're focused on verbal affection. They tell each other that they love each other and that they appreciate one another, or you do things for them. You get them gifts or whatever way that you like to show your affection in the friendships. That can be a great way to think about the dynamic between the two of them and how it might be different to other relationships in the protagonist's life, for example. This friendship is going to be special and there's going to be different ways that they show affection versus how the protagonist would show affection to other relationships in their lives. And don't forget to include some unique rituals, like maybe there's a handshake or maybe they go and get coffee every Thursday morning. Whatever the ritual is can add a little bit more of a connection and again make this a believable relationship. Do you have a favorite fictional friendship? Let me know in the comments below. Number 6 is secrets. So secrets add intrigue and is a test for the friendship if the protagonist or the friend shares a secret with one another. This is, again, a very believable thing that happens in life. We tell our friends things that we wouldn't tell other people. And so this is a way to showcase that friendship and to test the waters on that level of trust with one another. But it's also interesting to think about what secrets do the friends keep from one another. This will often be that they're keeping something and then later in the story that secret is revealed and there's a little bit of distrust between them that forms because the secret wasn't shared and it could lead to a significant plot point or something going wrong for one or both of them. Think about how secrets can impact the story, whether that is telling secrets or withholding secrets, and how that actually affects the friendship dynamic. Number 7 is a tip that helps to plan out a little bit before you even start writing, and that is to know the friendship arc. So it can be really helpful to understand where the friendship is going and growing. So throughout the story, it's likely that the friendship is not going to stay stagnant. So you're going to want to know, okay, how did the friendship start? What is this rooted in? What is the dynamic when they meet each other? Sometimes you have the enemies to friends trope, right? They might meet each other on the page and they don't understand one another, but then it grows into something bigger and greater and into this friendship. So you're going to want to spend a little bit of time of thinking about what are those dynamics in the beginning and where is it going? Where is the story going to end with this friendship? Where is the arc going to go? Are they going to end up being best friends at the end, even greater and stronger? Or are they going to have a falling out and something happens that leads to their friendship falling apart? Or maybe it falls apart and they come back together in the end. What does that look like so that you can help build different dynamics throughout your writing to eventually get to that end emotional point that you want to with the friendship specifically? A great example of a friendship arc is with Chucky and Will in Good Will Hunting. Chucky, of course, wants what's best for Will, and he explains that the best part of Chucky's day is when he goes to pick up Will and knocks on the door, and there's about 10 seconds where maybe Will won't be there, and that's a good thing because if Will is gone, that means he's moved on to greater things and better things for his life that he deserves. What a sweet thing to say. Which, by the way, this is one of the best scenes I think in a movie because the dynamic between these two friends is so real and so relatable, and you can feel the love that Chucky has for Will in this scene. And then if we're talking about the arc, where does this friendship go in the end? In the very end, we see that Chucky knocks on Will's door and he isn't there. So we've had this really great, strong relationship friendship throughout the story, but in the end, they're not together. They've grown apart, they've gone separate ways. So that's a really strong way that the ending was foreshadowed in the middle of the story, and it would be really helpful for you as a writer to know where that's going so you can plant seeds and have certain scenes that can allude to where this ending friendship is going to go. Number 8 is genuine sacrifice. And this is a big one. We normally see it towards the end of stories, but it can grow and be gradual throughout the entire story. And when I say genuine sacrifice, it's moving beyond just saying, I love you, I'd do anything for you, or I take a bullet for you. Cool, words are words, but we as readers want to see what this actually means. This often can come in the form of moral dilemmas like, are you willing to lie for me? Are you willing to steal for me? What are you willing to do that is generally accepted as not good? And of course, we can think about this in physical and emotional sacrifice. Physically, you can face danger, give up safety, risk their lives for this other person. Or emotionally, maybe one of both of you is giving up on some personal dreams or enduring heartbreak because it's what's best for the friendship. And I've saved one of the most iconic examples for last, which is of course Sam and Frodo from The Lord of the Rings. Sam endures extreme hardship by following Frodo into Mordor. Despite the harsh conditions, hunger, and exhaustion, he even carries Frodo up the mountain when Frodo is too weak to walk. A literal and symbolic act of ultimate sacrifice. Great friendships in fiction are built on trust, conflict, and sacrifice, and hopefully these tips have helped you to build these wonderful bonds on the page so that your readers will fall in love with your friendships. Now, if you like this video, you might also like the video on how to make readers fall in love with your characters. So check that one out, and thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate the support, and hopefully these videos are helping you become a better writer. Thank you, and happy writing. Bye!